Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Murderworld Spider-Man. I know it says issue number 1. Ignore that nonsense. This is Murderworld issue number 2, even though it says issue number 1 on it. All right. The first one was Murderworld Avengers. This is Murderworld Spider-Man. Holy crap, this was really good. Like the whole thing is out of control. Freaking I need to be institutionalized. Zub needs to be arrested just on principle alone. Like somebody did something bad here, and all of us are suffering because of how good this comic book is. But we feel bad. I know I feel bad for liking this comic book so much. like really bad things happen in here. Let's get talking about, and they do something amazing. All the people involved in this comic book do something amazing that I don't think I've ever seen before in one of the big two. Let's get talking about all that good stuff, starting with who created this comic book. Jim Zub and Ray Fawkes are the writers. Fareed Karami is the artist. Chris Sotomayor on colors, and VC's Corey Petit doing the letters. Paco Medina and Jesus Abertov do the cover, and there's the variant cover by Lanil Francis Yu and Sunny Rowe. Spider-Man was created by Stan Lee with Steve Ditko, but Spider-Man's not in this. The Spider-Verse LMDs are in it, but I think that we already established that in issue 1. There were no Avengers in it, just LMDs of the Avengers. Anyway, that's, the robots from back in the S.H.I.E.L.D. days. So there's this, we just had a mutant character who suddenly appeared out of nowhere in the previous issue, right? Like, surprise, I'm a mutant, and then immediately killed, which was like, wow, did not expect that. In this issue, we've got a different kind of a mutant. We got Eden Abraha. She's a woman. I don't know if this is supposed to be a trans woman or whatever. Like nowadays, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But this is just a ridiculously uncharacteristically, unbelievably strong woman. She's in the MMA, and she's beating the crap out of guys at MMA. That's never happened before. It's never going to happen. It's in the professional circuit. It's absolutely impossible. So either she has some kind of a mutant power also, or it's just whatever. It's goofy stuff. Either way, so there's a super powerful girl who we're supposed to believe is normal in this. So she's going around, like in her real life, she's going around breaking, guys' arms, the stars of the MMA. Like, we're building everything. It's like supposed to be like the Conor McGregor of the MMA, and she just comes up and snaps his arm and puts him out of action, and everything's so she's ruining her life. And this part is actually realistic. There are people who don't understand the sport of things. What do you call it? McGregor is constantly berated for being such a jerk, and he's unlikable and blah 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 blah. Yeah, much like Mayweather, winning all the time and talking a lot of trash at the same time, it sells tickets. I understand Khabib couldn't understand that, and he just went in and decided to win. But you just look at the old Muhammad Ali days. You know what I'm saying? It helps being the best of the best. It also helps being able to sell tickets. You could be the greatest fighter who's ever existed. You could be the greatest anything, but if you can't sell yourself, you're dead in the water. And that's pretty much exactly the case with Eden Abraha here. She, what do you call it? She's just some goof who's really unnaturally good at fighting, but doesn't know how to sell herself, doesn't know how to actually get the product out there. She's got a cult following. Cult following doesn't keep you in I don't know, silk fur and whatever, right? It doesn't keep the bills paid. You can't pay the rent off of a cult following unless you're living in a dive, right? And it certainly doesn't keep her employed with her attitude. So her origin story, this is what causes her to eventually fall into the clutches of Arcade. Really good backstory there. I liked that. I read this and I'm like, yeah, this is the perfect foil to get a character involved in Arcade's murder world, right? Not a single superhero in this story. There's Black Widow sitting on a couch, and Kate Pride shows up at one point on the TV and gets yelled at by Black Widow. Not a single superhero to be found in this comic book. Arcade is in the background, like saying a few things, and a lot of times the protagonists, Eden in this case, is thinking over top of his actual voice, like her inside voice overtakes the comic book over his voice. Um, I don't think I've ever seen this in the big two before, where heroes are cast aside, where the main villains aren't really the main thing. I know Murderworld is on the cover and whatnot, but it's more the place, the location, as opposed to Arcade himself, right? This is not Arcade and Spider-Man or whatever in this. We have regular old characters who we're pretty sure are all going to die at some point. And none of them are likable. At one point, Eden is saved by two other people. One of them she decides to sleep with, and not because she's actually attracted to him, but because she's playing the game, and she's got this sense of, I'm going to sleep with him, and now if it ever comes down to he and I, then he'll hesitate and I won't. Wow. Okay, so clearly, let's just be realistic. This is an absolutely, completely, and totally broken woman. She is, there is absolutely nothing redeemable about this character. Nobody wants her to survive. She's evil, It's not like a bunch of the other people are there also. And even the so-called heroic thing she does, some guy, saves everybody and says, guys, if you manage to save, your blanket or your survival kit, there's a blanket in there. And this one big guy goes and says, yeah, maybe I'll just take yours. That's the kind of guy. That's the kind of guy you take out quick. There is no conversation. There is no, hey, you're going to keep yourself in order or the rest of us are all going to, gang up on you and whatnot. No. That's the kind of person you take out immediately. It's like, oops, you've been hamstrung. I hope you don't get eaten by a bear. Bye-bye. You cannot trust someone like that at all. Instead, there's a little bit of a different... There's a little something different that happens here. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, it's done in a way where it's like, you are not likable. Anything that you do, right? Any of the characters in here, the guy who saved everybody, he did it in the most unlikable way. Are you guys actually trying to fight that thing? Let go when I say let go. And then, with the bomb in the bag thing. There is nobody actually likable in here. The only guy who you'd think is likable is the paramedic. And then it's revealed, hey, there are 64 of you there, but only 61 of you are actually contestants. That means that in this rest area of yours that you've been investigating for traps and there are none, and I've given you food and things like that, yeah, 3 of you guys there are actually assassins. Ruthless, cold-blooded assassins. Okay, by the way, lights out. And that's how we kind of have to hold on this cliffhanger. I kind of apologize for spoiling the ending. I'll try to remember to put spoilers ahead. But I gotta say, the book is still worth reading. If somebody spoiled that ending, I would still be like, holy crap. Holy crap. This was so good. This comic book from the beginning to end, I'm reading this comic book and I'm entranced. And as I'm getting closer and closer to the end, I'm realizing the real Spider-Man or Spider-Verse isn't here. The next issue is supposed to be not Arcade, Murderworld and Wolverine, issue number 1, which means it's issue 3. And I'm like, Wolverine, awesome. I'd love to see him running around. And then I see the cover. It's like, oh, that's right. It's also Dakin Wolverine. It's also X-23 Wolverine. I guess Honey Badger Wolverine will be there also. And other versions of Wolverine, like when he lost his adamantium and he was just, this big jaw thing with no nose. Remember that? He had, what happened to his nose? Who cares? It was awesome. All these different versions of Wolverine are going to be there and non-Wolverine Wolverines. Anyway, you only need... That's a funny thing. You really only need one Wolverine in this. But what it tells me is, much like in here with the Spider-Verse characters, they're here for mere fodder. They're here for a quick little thing. I don't care if there's a Wolverine in the next issue. I don't care if this wasn't even in the Marvel universe. The question is, would I read the book if it wasn't part of the big two? And the answer is probably not, unfortunately. And that's a damn shame. And that's one of the reasons why I do think that a lot of these writers who have such a good rapport with some of us, at least, in the comic book reviewing community, even though there are, pretty few of us, I think that, and Near Mint Collectibles just did this thing. They just put out the video yesterday, I believe it was, and I'm in it. So if you like me, go watch that. You'll see a whole bunch of other reviewers also that you might like. There's no in my mind, there's no competition here. I'm not doing this to be better than everybody else. I'm doing this to just have a voice in the reviewing universe. So yeah, Near Mint Collectibles, they just put this thing out, and it's pretty damn cool. Holy crap, dude. I don't know. For me, I'm reading this comic book and I'm like, I would actually prefer this to not even be in the Marvel universe. I would like this to just be a thing where I don't have to care that some characters might show up at some point and rescue the day, that Black Widow might figure things out. I would love to see Zub do some kind of a blood sport type story. Some kind of a, what's that story with the Cossacks and all that stuff? The Ultimate Game. Why can't I remember the name of that? I think it's the original story where a human hunts another human. Good stuff. Anyway, it's just one of those kind of stories. I would love to just see one of those. It's a shame that this has to be in the Marvel Universe, but I can also say I am also so happy it's in the Marvel Universe. This is a really good story. This is honestly one of the best stories in Marvel right now, and it really doesn't have much to do at all with the Marvel characters. You want to read something good. You want to read something out of the box. You want to read a story from a guy. Ray Fawkes also, I don't know what Ray Fawkes does outside of this. Like I said, I usually do my research after I read a comic book and do the actual review of a comic book, because I don't want to go in with too much exterior knowledge. I just want to judge the comic book itself based on the writing and the art and whatever other superfluous things pop up, that I can actually glean from the comic book itself. I can honestly say this is like reading an indie comic book in one of the big two. More, please. There's no need for this to end. But at the same time, I need it to end so that I can want more. That's how you put the label, the fingerprint, the carbon footprint on what is a good story. And this is beyond the shadow of a doubt a good story. You guys should definitely jump in on this. So Murderworld Avengers is the first issue. This one, Murderworld Spider-Man, is the second. Next month, I believe, should be Murderworld Wolverine. Looking forward to them all. Talk to you later. Like the video, watch an ad. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.